Let's do it.
For a while there, it's kind of, oh, this is what we do. And this is what my family does, and I kind of tag along.
Yep. Routine.
Right. You go with the flow. And then I would go through the stages of, as a kid, if I wasn't at church, it was very weird for me. And I wasn't a Christian at the time, but I knew it was just weird for me because we'd always go to church. So if there was a time I had to miss church, it felt odd for me. Like Ray, when he was talking about how he got saved, and I was the same as well. I'm sure you guys remember Linda Sabri. Or now Linda Adafair now. She obviously was teaching Bible club at the time, and I got saved through the...
Love that
I was
lady.
so scared. Yeah, best.
Check
best
out
lady.
the episode of Talk to Me.
Yeah. And when I got saved, and just trying to throw it in, this guy. But when I got saved, and then I started to go through the motions.
Check out the episode of Talk to Me.
Very good, very good.
We're going to start putting ads in this thing.
I know, but check out link charts. No.
Click the link below. Sorry, what were you saying?
That's all good. That's fine. So you kind of go through the motions. Even when I got saved for the next 5, even 6, 7 years, so until about 14, I was still kind of going through the motions. Sitting through Epic when Mark was leading it, and then you kind of start making your own decisions. But there were 2 experiences. The first one was when my dad took me for a drive, and we went to, as weird as it sounds, went to King's Cross. I was 15.
What for?
Well, I'll get to that. So gets me into the drive, and I'm thinking, he goes, I'm going to take you somewhere. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm 15 years old. I see the big Coca-Cola sign. I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? This is a bit weird. So I got really scared in that. And he just showed me, he goes, as we're driving through, and he goes, I've raised you to be under God's tuition through the Bible and being in church and that. And he goes, and if you don't want God and you don't want that life, that decision becomes yours. Now, I'm taking you here for a reason, and I want you to see what's out there. And you look, and you see people staggering on the streets, and they start smoking, and things like that I grew up that I never did, like drinking and smoking and that. That was already a big thing for me in my heart. That when I saw it on the street, I started to see people walking out of clubs, and they're not the same, and you see them stopping on the ground and a bit, how's it going? For me, it was like, well, I don't want that life. Even as a 15-year-old, you're kind of looking like, yeah, this doesn't appeal. It appeals to a lot of people. For me, I didn't see that appeal. And he goes, my dad always said, he goes, I'm never going to force you to join the church and whatever. He goes, but this becomes your call. But I've raised you, my mum and I've raised you in this way, and now it's on you. There was that. And so I was like, okay. And then we had the church conference in 2011, NBF, National Baptist Fellowship, the first one. And then when we were serving, it was kind of around that same time where after I had taken me on that drive, and then a couple months later we had that conference, and our church was organising it.
Where's that at? In Brisbane?
It's all over Australia. So they do it once a year, but our church was hosting 2011.
Was that at King's School?
Yeah. No, the first one was our church. It was our church.
Oh, you're talking about the one at church.
Yeah, 2010.
Oh, okay.
2011, I think it was.
You're thinking 05, 06 or something like that.
Yeah, I was
I've been to that one at
11.
King's School. I remember that one.
Yeah, I was 2006.
I didn't see you there. I didn't see you there.
I was in the back with the cool kids.
And so when we got to, I didn't get to sit in any of the meetings because I just put my name down to just help out wherever I could. And then the more we started doing it in that conference, I started to find a love for it. And I go, this is where I want to be.
Wow.
I want to be in church. I want to be serving God. I want to be able to minister to others. And I hadn't listened to a message in that whole conference. But it was the serving aspect of that. And then the second part, which became the most real, was I'm still going through very serious personal drama.
Yep.
In 2016, things kind of just fell around me. Now, when I look back at it and I think to myself, and you kind of think to it now, I don't want to go through that. But at the time, when I put myself in those shoes again, I was a 21-year-old kid, pretty immature. I burned a lot of bridges with a lot of people because I made stupid decisions, and I started to lose a lot of mates around that time, especially in church, because I made some very selfish decisions and I opened my mouth when I shouldn't have. That when this personal drama came in, I just kind of felt like
Your whole world fell apart.
everything.
Did you pull away or pull towards God initially?
Initially,
Yeah.
I pulled away.
Yeah, right.
I'm being 100%. I pulled
Yeah,
away. I kind of just sat there and I thought, well,
Had resentment towards God or something like
it
that?
wasn't resentment. It was more of like, okay, I know that I'm old enough to know that this is a trial, and I'm old enough to know that I will come out of this, but I don't know how.
Right.
And I don't know who's going to help me get to that or what I'm going to need to do. It was very foreign to me.
Is that fake?
But what kept you going? I'm interested to see what kept you going. Why didn't you fall away?
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Be 100%?
Yeah.
Ministry.
Right.
Nathaniel Manor needs to be singing in choir on Sunday morning. Nathaniel Manor needs to be greeting at the door. I didn't want to be at church. And then I'd find myself Nathaniel Manor, and I go, well, I can't really pull out of a ministry now.
So
I've got to go
the
and
wheels
serve.
turning.
So I would go and I would just do that ministry. I'm like, yeah, I'm here just because my name's here. And then slowly, it just became weekly. that because I had put myself in so many ministries from previous other times, it just
That anchored you.
kept drawing me back. And so then when I had the thought of potentially going to a point where things started to get really, really bad, and I was like, I want to kind of leave. That's when I kind of said to God, I want to go into the world. I said the words, I want to go into the world.
I get it.
I got to a point where I was like, I physically can't do this. I can't go to church. Things aren't the same. People are going to look at me different. I can't. And I remember I looked into the mirror and I'm like, all right, I made the decision. All right, God, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to start calling people. Me, I thought I was some top 21-year-old idiot. I'm going to call people I know like I'm big in some sort of stupid game. And as I started going through my phone, and years prior, God started cutting people out of my life bit by bit. So I started going through my phone to call, let me call this person that might have a link to, for example, whether it be alcohol. And I never drank or smoked or did, but the thought of like, I want to pull away. If I'm going to pull away, I'm going to go hard.
Yeah, right.
I want to do it right.
Yeah. But then when I went through my phone, like all my contacts, the majority of people there were all Christian people. A lot of people from church.
Thank
not
God
from
for
church.
that, man.
Yeah. And then as I started to look, and I pulled back, and I remember I had my phone in, looking at my phone, and I go, I can't call anyone. And instantly I go, God, I'm so sorry. Wow. There is a reason for this, and I have to trust in you. And the leadership at the time of the church, I was always getting called. I was always getting checked up on. And you know what? For them, it was a phone call. To me, it meant the whole world.
Right.
That's what kept me in church.
Wow.
That's what was like, all right, God, I'm going to recommit my life to you. And any personal decision I ever made prior when I was younger, I'm rededicating that again. And so it just became real for me the most at 21.
Stato.